Welcome to another episode of How to DragonCon. My name is Kong and I will be your guide. Today I want to discuss one of the most commonly asked questions by newbies and returning attendees, and that is, what's the best thing to do? What is the must-see, must-do events at DragonCon? So I'm going to divide this into two different parts. The first one is kind of a long-winded question because really that's impossible to answer. It depends on you. The second part, though, I will try my best to give a list just so that I'm not giving a misleading title in the video. So what is the must-see, must-do? It will vary completely on you, right? What brought you to the con? What is it that you want to do? If you're a costumer or a cosplayer, maybe the whole weekend you're running around changing costume, trying to see one photographer, another one, meeting up with different groups, making all that happen, right? Or maybe you came to see a bunch of celebrity guests, so you're going to go from one line, one autograph table, one photo op, one panel, repeat. That's something that I've done in the past myself. So really it will vary on the person. So whatever I tell you, you may have no interest in it whatsoever. You may not have the same interest from year to year, right? And your plans may change day to day. You might discover something, stumble upon something that completely changes whatever plan you had mapped out for yourself. So really, there's no must-see, must-do. As long as you are enjoying it, as long as you're having fun, then really it doesn't matter if you list or if you miss everything that I'm about to go over. As for the actual list, this is just based on my experience from the times that I've gone to some of these different events. The first one you can probably guess is the parade, which is usually held on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You're probably going to ask, hey, can I just randomly march in the parade? No, you have to register in advance. Unfortunately for this year, those slots are already full. They always tend to go pretty fast. I would be surprised if they last more than a few days. So again, don't just randomly get in there and march because someone's probably going to yell at you and kick you out, okay? You can still be a spectator. I would recommend, if you've never seen it, definitely seeing it in person is going to be a much better experience. However, that does require that you wake up early on Saturday, and you may be pretty tired by that point. But if you can manage to get up, go at least an hour early before it starts, so roughly arrive at 9 a.m. I'll put a link below to the most recent info on the parade, which typically has the map of what route they'll be taking. So kind of figure out where you want to be to have a good vantage point. Expect that some people may kind of try to get in front of you, so just be ready for that. But once you have it, the actual parade only lasts about somewhere between 75 to 90 minutes, depending on how fast they go. And you basically get to see different groups that are organized in different themes and fandoms. So it's a really fun thing to do, especially if the weather is nice outside. A good way to start your Saturday. The other way you can view the parade is from the comfort of your own room if you happen to have a host hotel room. You can just turn on DragonCon TV, have some room service and watch there in comfort. The plus about this, of course, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to fight anyone to, make sure you can see properly. And you also get to hear the color commentary from the DragonCon staff. They tend to have usually someone interesting like Mr. Mark Meir, who's a prominent voice actor, who keeps it definitely funny, lighthearted, and interesting. And the whole, commentary crew, they may be able to point out what some of the costumes and fandoms are, whereas if you're just standing on the street, you might not really know who they are. So definitely the parade, I would say, is at the top of the list. The next thing I would recommend is the night at the aquarium. So if you are not from the Atlanta area, or you've never gone to the aquarium that we have here during your times when you visit, this would be an excellent way to check it out. Especially since it's closed off to the general public. It's only for con attendees. It's under some really nice settings and decorations. The drawback, of course, is this is an extra cost. Your DragonCon badge by itself will not get you into the event. You'll have to purchase a separate ticket that's general admission just to go in there, or there's typically a VIP type ticket that will get you like a lounge area, some light bites, and maybe access to the bar. So either way, I think those would be really cool ways to see the aquarium. People usually bring out different costumes, just for that event. So it's also, another great way to have costume watching. All right, the next thing I want to recommend is one of the big late night dance parties. So I'll have a separate video one day that talks about the parties and the nightlife and things you can do. But in general, these are going to be held at nighttime. There's multiple ones each day, multiple ones every day. So don't feel bad if you miss one early on. I'm pretty sure you'll have others that you can go and make up for that. But basically, in a giant ballroom, you're going to have either a pre-made playlist of music, or sometimes a DJ, and they'll, be dancing and having a good time for hours on end that night. So I would like to recommend some of the ones that I've gone to, but keep in mind, these will vary year by year. Just because it was really popular and hot last year, it doesn't mean it's going to be an amazing time, the next year. It may even vary from hour to hour. Maybe right when the event starts, it's kind of quiet, it's kind of slow. Maybe by midnight, a lot more people have come in. They may be a little more tipsy. Things are more fun in general. So even if you're not maybe the most extroverted person, maybe you don't like to dance. I don't really like to dance either, but eventually you kind of just get over it and you're like, hey, look, no one's really paying attention to me anyways. There's amazing costumes all around. So if you just want to cut loose for a song that you like, I mean, have at it. As for the recommendations, typically on Thursday, the one that most people line up for is the Bunny Hutch, which is a Playboy bunny mansion themed where you pretty much see everyone and their mother have some type of bunny ears or a robe like Hugh Hefner. So it's really fun just to see some of the mashups that people create to get into this event, but you don't have to wear a specific costume to get in. Literally anyone with the DragonCon badge can get in. So it's just something to do on Thursday. Typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some of these dances will vary, but the last party on Alderaan has been a good one. That's a Star Wars themed one. The 8-bit ball, which I think is kind of like a retro and or video game themed one. The Yule ball, which is with the Harry Potter crew. So any one of these, they could be brilliant. They could be kind of a dud. You don't know, but I think it's at least worth it to check it out. All right, the next two events I'm going to discuss, I'm going to kind of group together. There is a massive Friday night costume contest. There are smaller costume contests that DragonCon has throughout the weekend, kind of based on different themes. Like one might be anime, one might be based on a specific fandom like Star Wars, The Lord of the Rings. But the Friday night one is kind of like a general all-encompassing one. And this one pretty much focuses on the craftsmanship, okay? So you'll have different tiers like beginners, somewhere in the middle, and then the top pro people. And this is where the people walk on stage, they show off their costume, and the person on the microphone kind of describes what type of work went into it. And at the end of the night, you see awards given out to each of the people. The Sunday night event is the Masquerade. So that's where there's more of like skits that people have. They might have a live performance, it might be lip syncing. Whatever the case, these tend to be kind of like a hit or miss. They can be really funny and entertaining. They can be cringeworthy and a train wreck. So there's potential entertainment value there for sure. Both of these events you can line up in advance to try to get into the room itself to see it. Or of course, again, if you have access to DragonCon TV, you can just see it in your own room. They're very long events. I certainly wouldn't recommend devoting 2 or 3 hours just to sitting through the whole thing. But definitely check it out just to see, the best and the worst that DragonCon might have to offer. All right, another thing I would recommend. They have big celebrity panels. So if you think like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, where you have the celebrity guests kind of, up in front of the stage, big ballroom full of fans. There are events similar to that, maybe not quite the A-list type names, but you never know what we get each year. And these are interesting just because if you go for the celebrity guest, but maybe you don't want to pay the money for the autograph or the photo ops, this is free. Any event and panel at DragonCon, as long as you have the badge, you can get into the ballroom. You might have to wait in advance to get in, especially if it's really popular. But I think these can be interesting because sometimes they even let you ask Q&A with the different guests that are, on the table or on the stage. If you ever have a burning question you wanted to ask, they probably heard it a million times, but here's your chance to have, a 10-second interaction with them. Who knows? You might have something really memorable. The other type of event is just where they might have a moderator with the celebrities just to kind of have a conversation going. Um, some of them are more entertaining. Some of the guests are a better storyteller than others. So you never know. Another panel I would recommend, actually more so than the previous big celebrity panel ones, is any ones that the voice actors are in. Okay, so sometimes they're going to have a performance. The panels are usually called Twisted Tunes, and it's where they'll read an excerpt from either like a famous work or book or script or something like that. The different actors will go in and out of the voices that they're known for. So it's really entertaining just to kind of see them mash it up. See a different, twist on some famous works that you may be familiar with. The other ones they have is kind of like improv or comedy or things like that, especially the ones you go later at night where they purposely say, hey, this is going to be rated R for the language. Go to those. Those end up being hilarious. I try to make it to at least one every year, and I've always had a good time. The last type of panel I would recommend is a random small fan panel, okay? So maybe you don't even know what the topic is about, but you may end up being interested in it. That's the whole magic of DragonCon, is to see what's around the corner, explore, find something new that you like and love that becomes a new fandom for the next year that you come back, okay? If nothing else, these are in small rooms. There's not really a line to get in them. So if you just need to rest your feet, if you just need to escape the big crowds that are outside, if you just want to be somewhere with AC, it's a great idea. Something else, you're probably going to do this without even, trying to do it, is people watching and costume watching. This is probably one of my favorite activities at DragonCon. It is everywhere you go. It might be on the streets while you're crossing the crosswalks. It might be in the main lobbies of the hotels, which is typically where a lot of people like to show off their work. Sometimes there's these big group planned photo shoots that people have, and I'll put a link below to that. So maybe if you're a really big fan of a certain group, like the DC or Marvel comics, you can see all of the characters all at once that, come together at the same date and time to have a massive photo shoot. So, don't go trying to bother them while they're doing the photo shoot, but afterwards definitely hang around and check out all the work that people have done. Rounding up the list, something I would recommend is whatever it is that you like. Okay, so whatever brought you to DragonCon, when the schedule came out, and just a side note about the schedule, okay, the schedule is rarely ever released more than a week before the con. So any newbies, there's even a drinking game. You say drink every time a newbie asks, where's the schedule? When is it coming out? A week before, sometime days before the con. So unfortunately, you're not really gonna know until basically the week of the con leading into the event what the actual events are, what times they are, what rooms they're in, okay? So when you look at that though, and you see, hey, I'm really interested in this, pick that one event and do not miss it for the world, okay? Don't miss it for your friends, don't miss it waiting around for something or someone. Do not live with regret, okay? That event might not be there the next day. It may not come back the next year. I've had some things that I kept putting off, and now they just don't exist at DragonCon, okay? So if you have something you want to see, go see it, build your entire day and schedule around it, and don't miss it, okay? You can enjoy everything else, but don't miss this one thing, whatever that might be for you. Last thing I want to touch on is a kind of a random assortment of live kind of performance events. Thursday night, there's always DragonCon Wrestling, where some of the talent from local wrestling promotions, come on and put on a show. It's entertaining. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 7, so I'm not going to tell you this is on the same level as like the WWE or New Japan Wrestling or anything like that, but they're entertaining. They ham it up with the crowd. The crowd itself can be just kind of a fun thing to experience and take part in. So typically Thursday night, you're going to see DragonCon Wrestling. Something else kind of similar, and I checked this out, I think, towards the end of one of the cons on a Monday, but it's robot battles. It's where people have devised these little amazing robots that are basically trying to flip one another over, attack them, blow each other up, whatever it is. It's really kind of fun to see that in person. I mean, there's TV shows about it, but when you see it in person, it is a little bit different and a cool experience. The last thing I would say is there's LARP-ing, live action role playing. I haven't been to it. This is one of my things that I keep putting off, and I really want to try to go. I'm sure some of them are more closed off and competitive, but there should be some that are viewable to the public. So if you ever just kind of want to catch the action in person, I'd highly recommend checking that out as well. All right, so that is my list. It's, quite extensive. You don't have to listen to it. It is completely possible to have the best time ever not going to any of these. I've had friends tell me that they've been going for years. They still haven't gone into one panel room, but they still end up having a blast. So you can do the same, but if you just want to take a sample from some of the things that I've listed, please feel free. If you don't like what I've recommended, I've also put a link to the main events that DragonCon recommends, so go check that out as well. So thanks for paying attention, and hope you have fun at the con, and I will catch you next time.